Sometimes, when facing criminals who escape legal punishment, violence is the most effective method. Facing the onlookers, Cage chased them away with a single line: "Step back, police." When questioned by investigators, Cage explained that the criminal suddenly pulled out a knife. Fearing for his life, he chose to shoot in self-defense. The two investigators believed his story completely. As a law-abiding police officer, Cage did all this to protect a poor mother and daughter. One day, Tina and her daughter were walking home, when suddenly, four criminals targeted them. They raped her. By the time the four scoundrels left, Tina was already unconscious. Beth immediately ran into the street to call for help, and she was spotted by Cage. After hearing the girl's story, he rushed to the scene and called for backup to block the area. The investigation went smoothly, and Cage quickly followed the leads to capture the four criminals. He thought he could easily convict them, believing the law would bring justice for the poor mother and daughter. But what he didn't expect was that the parents of the four criminals had spent $400,000 hiring one of the city's most famous lawyers to handle the case. The lawyer's name was White. For money, he would do anything. Sure enough, in court, White argued that Tina had willingly had sex with the four men, but they hadn't agreed on a price, which led to the assault. As for Beth's testimony, he claimed it was irrelevant, since she was Tina's daughter and would naturally side with her mother. Under White's argument, the jury began to believe his words, and they all thought Tina was a prostitute. Facing the accusations, Tina broke down in tears. In the end, after the jury's unanimous decision, the four criminals were acquitted. But the four criminals showed no remorse, and instead, arrogantly stared at Cage. As a police officer, Cage couldn't believe that the justice he had fought for all his life had led to such a disgraceful outcome. Since the law couldn't deliver justice, he would take matters into his own hands. He solved the first criminal, and smoothly passed the investigators' questioning. But the story didn't end there, because there were still 3 criminals left unpunished. Soon, Cage picked the perfect place to deal with them. One day, Cage posed as a lawyer's assistant and called them, arranging to meet them at the edge of a cliff. They had no suspicion, and soon arrived at the location Cage had provided, completely unaware of the danger awaiting them. At that moment, Cage pulled the trigger without hesitation, taking down one criminal. Then he quickly gunned down another. Without hesitation, he approached and shot again. Finally, he kicked the last criminal off the cliff. The rain washed away all the evidence, and since the location was near the border, along with the map Cage had deliberately left in the car, everyone believed they had fled to avoid arrest. When Tina saw the news, a long-awaited smile appeared on her face. Soon, only the last criminal remained. As soon as he got home, Cage held a gun to his head. He then forced him to write a confession letter, and ordered him to place his hand on the gun, leaving fingerprints. Thus, the last criminal was also ruled to have committed suicide to avoid capture. Cage had taken revenge on behalf of the poor mother and daughter in this way.